That probably means it's ready to go. Okay, let's see. Tell me. I don't want to share my whole screen. Okay, let's see if I just share a window. Does that look reasonable? Maybe small?
Maybe a little bit small, but it looks okay. You can see.
Okay. I bought a wide monitor. So I think if I share the whole thing, it would look terrible. Right.
That's fine.
Okay. So what I have is a mess. It's not organized. It's not clean. It's not totally correct yet. But I scroll down to right here. I did get the zero profit condition to balance. It takes a second. It's a larger data set, so it might take a second. Hopefully, Julia didn't restart. No. Yeah. So all these numbers are small, which is what I want. So that's good. So I should talk a little bit about how this works. Because, yeah.
Sorry, Mitch. Because I missed maybe a meeting or two. Apologies. So you're going. This is the main build stream.
Yep.
Where what were you improving based on what was there before? Sorry, just to pick up the thread again.
No, that's a good point. So the way that this currently works, the way that we currently build the data is cleaned and assembled in Python, and then it's passed off to GAMS where it's cleaned more and balanced.
Yep.
So it's a two-language problem, which is not easy to maintain.
Yep.
And I can show you a good example of why it's not easy to maintain. Here's the build stream. Here's core. And then I'll look at SGF share right here. Because I found a bug in this morning that I didn't. Oh, it's GSP. I didn't grab the right one. SGF share. So I found this bug this morning right here. Just hard coded in. It was copying 2022 data into 2023. And then down here, 2024 into 2023, or vice versa.
Yes.
And this was because 2023 data wasn't available, and I just missed it. That's actually pretty easy to automate, just like detecting that years are missing and doing it that way. But it's not the most trivial in GAMS. To be fair, I currently just have that sort of hacked together in Julia as well, but I will improve. Okay. So this is my debugging code. I'm working on making it just a single function. Where is it? It'll just be a function create state table. It'll take the summary data and the directory where your data lives, and then it'll just kind of do everything. There might be a couple more things, but I don't foresee it being too bad. Up to this point, I'm fairly confident about all the ones that go into zero profit. So intermediate demand, intermediate supply, and labor and capital demand. And the margins I'm fairly confident on. But let's talk about this. Okay. So there's a lot of data that goes into this. And let's see here. If I go like this, and maybe I can go regional. So there's a lot of data that goes into it. Probably the most important ones are the SA GDP, like state level GDP data given by BEA. In that, like just this file right here, these are the raw GDP numbers. That's the one we probably use the most because you can disaggregate by shares. So let's talk about how I'm doing this because it's a little bit different. I want build. Okay, so for the intermediate parts of the table, intermediate demand and intermediate supply, basically all we do is we load that GDP data and then disaggregate by shares. And if you're wondering how this works, because I'm doing this all with data frames, where did I put this? I put that, I think, here. Segregate by shares. I'm trying to put better descriptions as I go. Okay. Basically, the magic is right. Here. This is where it's actually happening. Everything else is like set up to this. But all it does is it takes the table, it selects, like if it pulls out the file that it's disaggregating from, renames the columns, then it's just a group by. And that's it. So always does the share by region, and then it does exactly what it says. It takes the share number divided by the sum of the share, indicating that so this is actually the share. Kind of a misnomer calling it share right here, but that's fine. And that's it. It's just a data frame operation. It's not super obvious. If I took this line out, I would lose the states. So that's why that line stays in. But yeah. Do I want to save this? No, probably not. Let me go back to here. So the intermediate data is pretty straightforward. The labor and capital data is kind of a nightmare. I'm going to come back to this because this one, as you can see, it is much longer. And then the last one that goes into this is output tax. There it is. And output tax is just the tax rate. So it's the national level tax rate. Assume equal taxes across states, and then just multiply by the total value so you get the tax number. Fairly straightforward. Well, let's talk about labor and capital. Because labor and capital is, like I said, a nightmare. And I'm going to need, like, this is going to need a lot of cleanup. There's going to need a lot of cleanup. Because the very first thing that I do, other than loading the region shares in GDP, is I do something called labor share. And if you haven't been through the WiNDC data stream, or the WiNDC build stream, this is kind of an involved thing. And my code is bad. I'm aware that my code is bad. This is PCE. Why did I click PCE? I just can't read today. My code is bad. It's very like spaghettified. But I'm going to try to get it to work first and then clean it up so it's actually better. It's also very slow at the moment, so I should be able to get it to be faster. So here's how I calculate labor shares. I probably don't need that, but that's fine. You compute GDP from the available data, and that's going to have a you can also just take the GDP. So there's going to be two different things. You just assign the difference, but it's a lot. And then you keep reassigning and assigning until we get to, oh my goodness, here. And like I said, this is a lot. So I don't want to go into a whole lot of detail until I get it nice and cleaned up, which I will. But there's a little model in here, which is essentially saying, if we know the sum of capital and labor, like how do we assign, like what percentage goes to labor, what percentage goes to capital? So the big picture idea is that we take like for a certain sector, we take the sum of labor and capital, then we disaggregate that with the GDP data, basic idea. And then we say, okay, what portion goes to labor, what portion goes to capital? And that actual model is down here. This is my objective, so it's just a least squares objective. And it's the sum, of course. And these are my constraints. So this row L is the labor share times the region demand, or the region share. So it's labor share times region share. Drew, do you have a question?
No, why don't you go ahead and finish? I just have a little bit of context that I can add here.
I think Drew's going to understand this better than most. But yeah, and then it's just the sum of labor and capital, and you just need to make sure that that balances out. So it's just going to minimize these things, and then ensure that this actually adds up to 1. If you want a real silly detail, I initially had this one in the wrong spot, and the shares did not add to 1, and that took me a fair amount of time to debug. It's fairly fun. Hey, Drew, you want to give context?
Sure. Yeah. And if this follows, it seems like it follows pretty similar to what's in the GAMS version of the build. And
Yep.
the whole point here was to try to get some regional heterogeneity in the labor and capital shares. But the problem is that if you use the GDP data, the components of GDP data at the state level, some of the capital payments are negative.
Sure
and so it's trying to like circumvent the negative values and come up with reasonable estimates. And so like the labor data was pretty good. If you know the total value added, you can kind of like back out what a reasonable capital share would be. And so it's kind of what's going on in the background here.
Okay.
Yeah, I was hoping to make it a little bit simpler, but yeah, those negative capital values are hard to rectify. Yeah, but yeah, right now I'm very much mimicking what the GAMS version is doing. In fact, you could see that if I just open it, if I go to, oh, that's build, that's core, and it's going to be, I think GSP share, right? Yeah, labor share. Get rid of this over. But you can see it is virtually the same model here and here. So L share times region share, that's what this is right here. So it's the same thing. Slightly more verbose, but I think that's all right. And yeah, so with that, I was actually able to balance the zero profit, which I showed off. Very pleased with that. And now I'm stubbing my toe on market clearance. I think I have all these run. There it is. Yeah, market clearance is pretty far off. So I have a couple probably typos and bugs here and there. Like I'll disaggregate on sector instead of commodity just by accident. But I kind of tried to, yeah, this is fairly far off. If I actually do this one, I think it's even more far off. But yeah, Drew, you can just yell out if you want.
I was just curious. I'd forgotten that in the GAMS-based version, I think I took a rolling average to avoid like big swings in labor capital shares from year to year.
Yep.
Do you do that in the Julia? Okay, cool.
Yep.
Awesome.
I do it a little bit. I mean, it's virtually the same. It's just that I can do it with the data frame, so I can just sort of make it more dynamic.
Sure. Yeah, I'm sure it's much more convenient in the Julia framework.
Yeah. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things that are more convenient, and there's a lot of things that are really less convenient.
That's
there's
fair.
always always going to be these trade-offs. Yeah, one of the things that I don't like about the GAM stuff. So let me look at state disag. I can point it out exactly. No, yes, that's where I want to be. And if I look at, it's at the bottom. I'm looking for the zero profit condition. This right here. This S0 is total supply. I believe it is sum of across of intermediate supply and household supply. So you just add up those two together. And then these are also aggregates. And if you actually just break this down, like you plug in all the value, like you bring it down just to base parameters, it's a tautology. Like that's always true. assuming that you've actually computed this, and this correctly. So one of the big things that I do is I don't have this as a parameter. I just have it as a separate function called total supply. So you can just kind of rip it out and see it right away.
That makes sense. Yeah, that definitely is an intermediate kind of
Yeah.
thing. And it doesn't necessarily need to be in like a GDX file or whatever file format.
Yeah. I mean, I know why it's done, but I don't want to have to do the bookkeeping of keeping it up to date.
Oh, sure. Yeah, it's a calculated parameter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this one, I still have a couple of bugs here and there. So one of the big ones is zip up to government final demand needs a little bit of work. I fixed a couple bugs here. So my census data actually matches with the shares now. A couple things with the census data. So the census data, state government finances, the input files are just kind of terrible. This is one of the reasons why I'm sure Tom could do this in GAMS very easily, and he would probably delight in doing so. But they're just kind of awful. Like they're not well. They're very terse, which is nice because they're small. But as a data frame operation, it's kind of trivial to clean this. So one of the reasons that I like doing it in Julie is because I can just ingest and then immediately use it. I don't need that intermediary. But I've gotten this running. Just takes a second. Oh, there it goes. And the differences are all actually 0, which is great. I did output all of the parameters, so I can actually just load them up and do a join and check, which is very nice. But I still have an issue in my actual government demand data. I think if I don't want to run this. Oops, that's not what I want to do. And if I actually make this large, I'll show you how big the difference is because it's pretty substantial. Yeah, I have hiccups. I have missing values and I have extra values. I don't have missing values. And these numbers are pretty big. So that's one area that I have to improve. And the way that I'm going to do this is run the GAMS file, export the GDX, convert it to a CSV, and then join and check. It's tedious. It's kind of annoying. But once it works, it feels pretty good for like 10 seconds before I have to fix the next one.
Sorry, Mitch, what is this showing us? This is the government demand relative to like tax payments, or?
This is the government final demand. It's the G0 parameter.
Okay.
If that helps. This is the data from GAMS. This is my data. Mine are negative because they're inputs instead of outputs. They're demands. Yeah, that allows me when I take 0 profit to I don't have to worry about signs. I can just add everything up.
Oh, sure. Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But one is the GAMS. So you're just replicating what's in the GAMS files.
I figured that's a pretty good baseline.
Sure. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I just wanted to double check.
Yep. Yeah, everything in GAMS is positive. Mine have negatives. It's just the way it goes. Yeah, so this and exports. So if I look at exports, I should also show you how I'm actually doing this because it's actually kind of neat. Yeah, exports are way off. A lot of missings. I think if I dropped the missing, drop missing the, come on. Yeah, this is too far. That's too far off. So I probably have a bug somewhere, which I need to figure out.
One thing on exports, this looks like it's manufacturing sectors, but there is that added code that uses the USDA export data. So agricultural sectors might be off if you're just using the USA Trade data
Oh,
to compare.
Drew, you're gonna love what I'm about to show you. It is. Okay, I have to find it. Hold on. Oh, it's already being used. It's right here. The commodity
Ah,
deep.
okay,
Yep.
cool.
Yep.
Always one step ahead. Very good.
Well, you say that, but it's already in the GAMS. So I read the GAMS, I understand what's happening, and then I try to replicate it. And the real annoying thing is finding this file every year because they like to shift that around where it lives. And also, I sent Drew the GDX files for the updated GAMS like stuff, like the actual just GAMS files. There's bugs in that I'm finding in the GAMS files. So heads up, Drew. So it's kind of nice to do this both ways because then I can kind of minimize the bugs because they are numerous. Let's see here. What do I want to show? What do I want to show? Yeah, extracting parameters. Because in GAMS, obviously you just type like X0 when you go with it. For me, I would tell it what table I want to use, and then the parameter I want to use, and here it is. So it's very similar. It should be the same data. If I wanted to just look at exports in the year 2024, man, I hope this works. Oh, that's not good. How did that happen? I do this so often that it doesn't work. Okay, hold on. Let me try this. Huh. It just doesn't work when I put. All right. Let me write a note. Hold on. Table. Broken. I swear I do this all the time, and then it doesn't work. Of course. How about if I do this one? It still doesn't work. What is going on? Sorry, that error is strange. Maybe we should try state table. Maybe the years have a nope. Maybe these. Let's go unique. Let's just look at the years. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't know why it says any. It should definitely say int or something. Hold on, I want to try one more thing. I want to look at the summary table. Hey, okay. So apparently I have a bug somewhere in my description of the state table. But if I look at the summary table, this code does work. So thank goodness. Okay, good. Only in state. So this just allows me to extract just the exports in 2024 with sort of nicer syntax. I could also take out a specific commodity. What do I want? Let's go symbol. So that I can just extract that one commodity. That's useful for what I'm doing now, for example, because what I'm going to do, like looking at this exports, is I'll just pick one commodity, probably the one that's off by the most, and just look at everything that goes into it and figure out which number is wrong. Like calculate it by hand, calculate it with GAMS, calculate it with Julia, get 3 different numbers, and then try to figure out which one is correct. It's pretty much my strategy. It's basically, I think the best way to describe how like my process for doing this? Do you know that clip of The Simpsons where Sideshow Bob keeps stepping on rakes? It's essentially that. Just every time I turn around, I hit a problem. It's going very well though. My goal is to have this done by Friday. I wanted it done for today, but life. And let me look here. Ooh, Drew's here. That's right. That means I get to ask questions. Because there are a couple things that I actually think I figured out. The margin supplies. So I'll ask Drew this. Basically, the way that I understand this is that each state has their own margin supply, right? So they either pull it from the national market. They pull it from the national market, like from one of the states. State sends it to a pooled national market, or they pull it locally, and each of those has a different margin supply.
Yes, I think that's right.
Okay. And I think imports sort of go into the national market, so it's the same concept.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't think there's some margins are not supplied through imports.
Okay.
They probably should be at some point.
Yeah, I was thinking about that.
But yeah, it's been a while since I've looked at that.
Yeah, because I think with demands, in fact, I can look here. Let's look at that state table. Because Drew, if I'm not wrong, did you do most of this?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. Because I know Tom was probably there for some of it.
We talked about it, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's local margin supply and regional margin supply, but I don't think that happens with margin demand. I think margin demand is just one big parameter.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the supply is differentiated through the local and national markets, and then demand is just kind of a composite of the two.
Yeah.
And it's based on the share between regional and national is based on the underlying regional purchase coefficients. So it's got the assumption. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, I should let you explain. I was saying yep, agreeing, but I should let you explain because you are much better at that, at the understanding how that works.
And it just follows the same assumption. Margins are assumed to be supplied through the same assumption as other commodities. Just in this case, it's just trade and transport sectors as opposed to like traded commodities. So.
Yeah, that's what this sheet is doing. So it takes in the regional purchase coefficients, and it calculates the total margin supply, and then essentially decomposes it. Should really give these better names, but yeah, basically what it's doing is it's taking the maximum of the trade shares and the regional purchase coefficients in the margin supply. And it might be a minimum somewhere. Forget, I think supply is, I guess I can look, right? Table, state table. Will that work? No. That's a bug. That should work. Yeah, these are negative. So one thing that Drew's going to say is, wait a second, in the code, you're taking a maximum, but we take a minimum. The negative flips it. That was also one of the decisions that I made early on that I think is a good one, but there's a lot of little places that it bites me. Like here, I'm probably like, oh, this is subtraction. Yep. So you get the local supply, and then the region supply is just the local, like the total supply minus the local. So that's what this code is doing. It's just shorthand. There's two inputs, and it just knows to subtract them. If you wanted to be explicit, you do A minus B. Same thing. But it's shorthand, just be able to put a minus. And then one thing I also define the sets. And this is where I can fix that bug that I pointed out. Because when I type margin supply, when I type this, what I should really want, what I should really want is both local and regional margin supply. The way that I would fix that is right here. Margin supply. And then, so the set is margin supply. And then there we go. Oops. Let AI fill in the rest of it because it's just going to copy and paste, which is what I would do anyways. What I do is in the elements, I give it the set, and then I give it the elements it corresponds to. So this is going to look at both of these, and I think actually I can do this with capitals. Because something like, here, I'll show you elements, state table. Yeah, so this is value added is actually both of these. I don't know if I like that. Yeah, to update that, I would actually need to run it, which I think would, that'll probably break things. I'll just run it again later. So this will duplicate some data because again, it's not running smart. It's just running linearly. So it's not dropping the old values. It takes a second. Oh, should probably ask about Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving well for me. I made all the food.
Oh, wow. For how many people?
We had 8 total. It was my mother-in-law, my father-in-law, my wife's sister, and her 3 kids. Brother-in-law works in the hospital, so he had to work. So they came down here.
Wow.
What is this?
Did you try to deep fry a turkey in the minus 20-degree weather?
You know, I didn't.
Lots of great videos on YouTube.
Yeah, there are.
I still have a house, so that's good. After trying, like, you try to deep fry turkey. Hey, it worked. Yeah, so now when I just do margin supply, it gives me all of these. And these are probably duplicated because I ran it twice. Yeah, so that's kind of how the sets work in WiNDC. Like what I put here is always a parameter. If I just put, I actually can put any set here. So I look at my sets, state table. Any set here, like anything that I put in here, like use. So I could do table. I'll do state table. This may not work because I don't think I have anything defined for use. I do. Oh my goodness. That just pulled out all the components of use. So it's just state table and then whatever the set was. If you're wondering what composes use, well, you want to find the elements from the state table of use. So we've got margin supply, and this is stuff that's probably not totally accurate. Like I think I'm dropping sector subsidy, just rolling that into output tax. This sector subsidy, if you're unaware, appeared in 2020 in the tables because COVID. They started getting subsidies out, so they recorded it. Yeah, these are all the use portions of the table. You can do the same thing with supply. So I find that to be super useful. Like one thing I'll do, for example, I'm going to pull up the model, MGE model. This A sector right here needs to be balanced, right? Like the sum of the outputs has to equal the sum of the inputs. So what I did right here, oh, it's right here. I just pulled out, I figured out what A was, right? And I just sort of expanded all this out to base parameters, and this is what they are. This is what it comes out to be. And I can just explicitly pull all those out. But what would be smarter is to just make a set that's like a production. I always spell it right, right? And it would just include all the stuff that has these so that I can just pull the one thing. And I'm going to be honest here. I just thought of that. Why haven't I done that? That's such a good idea. I gotta make a note. A prod set. It's a heck of a good idea. Kicking myself now because I haven't thought about that. So I could easily just, and then I could put it into the, oh, that's a great idea. Okay. Do you want to see why that's a good idea? In WiNDC National, like not the docs, if I go to my model, I was able to shorten this up by using, where is it? Functions. It's actually kind of like this. So in the Y production block, it's sectoral production data. And if you're like, oh man, what is that? You could always use the Julia help. See if this works. Did I spell it wrong? Let's try that. Let's go WinDC National. There it is. So if there's ever something that you can't find, odds are it's not exposed to the world. So if you put the module name dot in front of it, then it'll actually pull it out. And this is what it's actually computing. So what I could do is I could have a set that's just those and just put table data sectoral production and it would do the exact same thing. Which again, not a terrible idea. Yeah. So this is what I've been working on. I'm very much trying to make it be cleaner because right now it's horribly ugly. So I'll get it working and get it cleaned up, get the documentation written. Hopefully I have that done by Friday. I'll have to go to campus on Thursday. That always eats a day. It's amazing how you go somewhere without all your nice stuff and then you don't work as well. Yes, Drew.
I agree with the former statement. I just out of curiosity, do you have a sense for like how you're planning to use this going forward? Like in terms of like you have the Julia version of the build, there's the existing GAMS version of the build. Do you think you're going to support both for a little while and then shift to this one or shift to this one completely sooner than later? Like, do you have a sense of how that's going to work?
I'm not opposed to supporting. It depends on what people want, right? I would prefer to just have the Julia one because then I can just kind of automate it and have it export GDX files and like CSVs, maybe a database type thing. But one thing I would really want to do is rewrite simplify the GAMS code. Because one thing that I don't like about the GAMS code, Drew, did you write the national model? Like all the national stuff, or was that Tom?
It was a joint effort. Yeah.
All right. I think I can tell because if I look at calibrate and I look at partition BEA, here are the things that always get me on this. Go away. So if you look at partition BEA, this is the first thing that runs in the build stream. And it defines all this stuff like VA0. Yeah. So one of the things that outputs is VA0, value added. And if I go up to where it's actually being defined, it's just pulling out the value added portions of the use table. It's totally fine. But when I go over here, it changes again. So VA, I go way down. And I don't think, oh, it is coming from the calibration as well. But there are things that change, defined here and then change here, but don't have to do with the calibration. And I think that's less efficient than it could be. I think it was value added, right? I've lost it. I wrote it down.
I mean, there are funky things about like value added, final demand, like
yeah,
that goes from sets to parameters. and it probably could be a bit smoother.
Yeah. But ideally what I'd like is I'd like a GAMS thing where it's sort of it's a little bit more organized, right? So you can pull in the data, you can see where the models live more easily. You can specify an output directory, you can specify an input directory. Because right now it's really important that you put data in with WiNDC build. So if you have different versions of WiNDC build, you have to copy data or put like a symlink or something. Not crazy about that. I'd rather just have a configuration file like we did with GTAP WiNDC. We have this one. Yeah, we have this GTAP and GAMS file where you can specify the GTAP version and where it lives. This is what I'd more like to move to, like have one configuration file. You can tell it where your raw data lives, and it'll just suck it in. You can tell it where to export the data. That way, for comparing, for some reason, doing multiple versions, or you have a branch, like you have your one project here and one project here, but uses the same data, like same raw data. The other issue is the GitHub, the WiNDC GAM or the WiNDC build GitHub. If you ever clone it, it's like a gig or two.
Yeah, it's a beast.
And the reason for that is you are uploading GDX files, which are binary. So every time that GDX file changed, it still lives in GitHub. Yeah. GitHub is a bit of a hoarder. So I'd like to make that so it's just raw text. And also preferably, I really want an API. I hit some technical limitations in that the university didn't want to host it. I don't know, even though I said it probably wouldn't be used that much. So the other option is AWS, but then that costs money, which is the whole thing. Speaking of which, I should mention this. I have to send an email to you guys as well. Starting soon, I get the exact date. I'm going to go down to 50% time because that'll just make the WiNDC money last a little bit longer so I can get more stuff out. If I get some teaching in the math department, which looks promising, it's really depressing why it's promising because a lot of postdocs are leaving and grad students are leaving. If I get that teaching, I can reduce my WiNDC load farther. And then essentially I'm teaching 2 courses and doing research, which is, I guess, kind of what faculty does anyway. But yeah, that'd be great. Because then I can get more stuff out. Yeah. Thanks.
So Mitch, I mean, maybe what, because of course we understand that your efficiencies are so much greater in Julia for all the reasons you've described. It might be good to have the one best GAMS version we can get to, and then sort of say, okay, well, the new stuff is going to appear in Julia. One can be able to produce any GDX files from that in an efficient way for GAMS. And any enterprising GAMS user who wants to sort of bring the GAMS version up to where the Julia version is, that I'm sure there are people that will be, I'm sure maybe it might be Drew, might be other people, then that version can then be also shared with folks. But I think it's, given what you just described in terms of, you having to manage economize on your time, it just makes sense for you to, to push forward, to push the frontier in Julia, but to at least have the best GAMS version up there. So at least people who are in that world can at least, can at least be able to follow along. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I very much understand that people use GAMS, and more people use GAMS than use Julia at the moment. One of the reasons for reducing load is it gives me more time to convince more people to use Julia. Yeah, I very much want to get, I'd very much like to get this, GTAP WiNDC. Because I think if I can get that, then people are going to start looking at Julia much more. Because it's cool. And I'm also talking to the GTAP people. I don't think GTAP 12 is out yet, but it was supposed to be.
I think this month or next month, maybe.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be a while ago.
And just, I think that's a really good idea, as just said. But also on your other ideas, like making GitHub lightweight and
Yep.
making the directory structure like this. I think those are terrific ideas too, for what it's
Yep.
worth. So
No, I mean, that's good to hear. Thank you. It is very nice because I have a fairly small study, which is fine. But sometimes I just say my ideals out loud and it bounces off the walls and I hear them. I'm like, hey, all right, people agree. But yeah, the other thing, I'm making separate repos for Julia. So I have a WiNDC National, WiNDC Regional, all of WiNDC Household. So that if you're only working on the household data, you can just pull that down. And I plan to have it hosted somewhere like a static link so you can just at least curl the data down. They apparently don't care about that. You'd think it'd be better if somebody just wanted 1 year to be able to open it up and send it to them, open it up in a subset, but nope. But yeah, it's going all right. Keep stubbing my toe.
So Mitch, these WiNDC national, regional, they don't include any of the household, like, because the regional build stream is like starting from the core, moving on to incorporating some of the household, and then last step getting the energy data. So I'm
Yep.
wondering what your like a regional and national, does those
It doesn't, not
doesn't
yet.
include.
Yeah, that'll be next step. That should be easier than the state disaggregation. The household disaggregation isn't as complex. Drew will probably be like, it is. But there's less data that goes into it, which is good. And I also threw all of Drew's R files for pulling down the household data up on GitHub because we've had separate versions of those for a long time. It's my fault. Did it just thumbs up for me? That was weird. I saw a thumbs up on my monitor.
I gave you a thumbs up.
No, I think there was one. I saw one somewhere else too. I saw yours, but also somewhere else. Let's see here. Anything else? I don't think so. It's going well. Just back to it, right? Anything else anybody want to know? Questions, comments, concerns?
Not from my side right now. Just trying to catch up with those.
Out of curiosity, is anyone in the applied econ department like working with this data or anything? Now that Tom's left?
None of them do CGE modeling. They're all they do different types of stuff.
Okay. I mean, out of one thing you might be interested in, and I think you've done this before too, but I know there are some extension folks that use input-output modeling, and I have like created like linear price models and things with the WiNDC data that some of those folks might be useful because it basically is the same thing.
We have used this to calculate multipliers. We had to use the make use version of the tables because you need producer value or purchaser value, I forget. You need prices that we don't have, so we use the make use framework. But yeah, I think using this new setup that would be a lot easier, which is cool.
Yeah, if you ever want some template code, just let me know because I have some models.
Yeah, that'd be great. Making a note. Yeah.
I just realized Ian Cox had retired from that department because I think he used to do ECG modeling as well. I guess.
In which department?
That's the ag and applied econ.
Yeah. Ian was a perfect. He's moved off to Japan, I think, at this point. But
he's somewhere. I met him at JuliaCon a couple years ago. Cool. Should we call it a day?
All right, man.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, no
Looks
problem.
great. Glad your thumb is better.
Yep.
Thank you, Mitch.
Yep. Have a good day.
Take care.
Thank you too.